Hello and welcome. You're watching Today in Parliament with me, Aishwarya Kapoor, and these are the headlines. Motion of thanks on the President's address in the Rajya Sabha today. Motion to be moved by BJP leader Bhupendra Yadav. BJP leader Hukumdev Narayan Yadav to move a motion of thanks on President's address in the Lok Sabha today. Jagdambika Pal to second the motion in the lower house. Reports of the Public Accounts Committee to be tabled in Parliament today. Finance Minister Piyush Goyal to present a statement showing supplementary demand for grants for 2018-19 in both the houses. BJP leader Bhupendra Yadav will move the motion of thanks on the President's address in the Rajya Sabha today. Motion of thanks follows the address of the President to the joint sitting of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha at the commencement of the first session of every year. The motion will be seconded by Vijay Goyal in the Rajya Sabha. And the motion of thanks in the Lok Sabha will be moved by BJP leader Hukumdev Narayan Yadav. The motion will be seconded by Jagdambika Pal. Motion of thanks was not taken yesterday due to disruptions in Parliament led by Trinamool leaders. All right, let's get all the updates. We have with us our colleague Kriti Mishra joining us live from Parliament. Kriti, Rajya Sabha proceedings were washed out and Lok Sabha witnessed 3 adjournments due to ruckus created by the Trinamool Congress members over the CBI West Bengal police row. Can we expect some normalcy today so that both the houses can discuss the motion of thanks on the President's address? All right, we'll try to connect back with our reporter. There seems to be some audio connection problems there. And following ministers will lay papers on the table in the upper house today. Shripad Yesu Naik for the Ministry of Ayush. Shiv Pratap Shukla for the Ministry of Finance. Anupriya Patel for the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And member Bhuvneshwar Kalita will lay on the table of the House a report of the Public Accounts Committee on assessment of assessees in pharmaceutical sector. And members Sukhendu Shekhar Roy will lay on the table of the House a report of the Public Accounts Committee on procurement of air combat maneuvering instrumentation system. Union Minister Dharmendra Pradhan will make a statement in the Rajya Sabha today regarding the status of implementation of the recommendations contained in the Parliamentary Standing Committee report on ethanol blended petrol and biodiesel policy pertaining to the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. And Finance Minister Piyush Goyal will lay on the table of the Parliament today a statement showing the supplementary demands for grants 2018-19. And Mallikarjun Kharge and Bhartrihari Mahatab will present the following reports of the Public Accounts Committee 2018-19 in the lower house. 136th report for the subject assessment of assessees in pharmaceutical sector. th report on the subject procurement of air combat maneuvering instrumentation system. And following ministers are going to lay papers on the table in the Lok Sabha today. Ram Vilas Paswan for the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. Ramdas Athavale for the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Parshottam Rupala for the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare. Vijay Sampla for the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Mansukh L. Mandavia for the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. And Union Minister Kiran Rijiju will make a statement regarding the status of implementation of the recommendations or observations contained in the 188th report of the Standing Committee on Home Affairs on action taken by the government on the recommendations contained in the 178th report of the Committee on Disaster Management in the country pertaining to the Ministry of Home Affairs. All right, let's try to understand what is going to happen in Parliament today. Kriti Mishra, our colleague, is joining us live from Parliament. Kriti, yesterday we saw, there were disruptions in, of course, both the houses. We saw 3 adjournments in the Lok Sabha, and of course, Rajya Sabha was adjourned for the day without transacting any business. And motion of thanks on the President's address discussion could not take place yesterday. What can we expect? Can we expect some normalcy today?
Well, Aishwarya, yesterday the upper house could not transact any business over the West Bengal issue as a TMC member protested in the house and disrupted the proceedings in the house. Even as we speak, Aishwarya, the hearing is on in the Supreme Court in the bench that is headed by CJI. Now, the CBI is saying that the Kolkata police has destroyed the evidence, and the CBI is seeking the court to issue instructions to the Kolkata police to ensure that the investigation and the probe in the chit fund scam is helped by the Kolkata police, and also the police commissioner of Kolkata is also he also manages to help in the investigation in the probe. Now the TMC is up in arms, and also the government is alleging that the TMC and the TMC government in West Bengal is destroying the federal structure, while the TMC is also saying that the centre is misusing the investigative agencies and the centre is destroying the federal structure of the country. You remember yesterday, Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu made repeated appeals to the members to allow the House to function. He even said that all the issues under relevant rules and procedures would be allowed to be taken up. He also said that the members can raise larger issues and can raise issues pertaining to their states during the discussion on motion of thanks on President's address. Now again, a motion of thanks on President's address is slated to be taken up. It remains to be seen whether the deadlock persists in the House or the impasse is broken and the House transacts business. Aishwarya?
But Kriti, the fact of the matter is that this is a very short session. It is only going to be there till the 13th of February. And of course, the motion, the discussion on the motion of thanks to the President's address is slated to take place. And as you were mentioning in the morning, the discussion on the interim budget is also going to take place. And after that, of course, there is a huge legislative agenda that the government really would be looking forward to push ahead of the general elections. Considering that, what are the likelihood of the session really getting extended, or trying to make sure that the key legislative bills are taken up?
Well, Aishwarya, you may recall that even before the commencement of the session, Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu prodded all the political parties to sit across the table and ensure to take up bills that all the sides agree upon. So accordingly, 6 bills were agreed upon by the opposition and other parties and also by the government. The chairman had also said that in this session, all the parties should work together, and it is the responsibility of all sides to ensure that the House functions. Because remember, Aishwarya, this is the last session before the general elections, and the government is seeking to push key bills. There is agreement and concurrence on 6 bills. These bills are important bills. One is pertaining to replacing the ordinance, which is the Companies Amendment Bill. There are other bills like the Personal Law Amendment Bill, the Aadhaar and Other Laws Amendment Bill, the Anti-Trafficking Bill. But while speaking to Rajya Sabha exclusively yesterday, MOS Parliamentary Affairs Vijay Goel has said that if it is needed, the government may like to extend the session to complete the unfinished business of the House. So it remains to be seen whether all sides sit together and transact business or there is extension of the session. Aishwarya?
Absolutely. So much really, as you mentioned earlier, would depend on what happens in the Supreme Court. Because the Mamata Banerjee CBI row, we saw the effects of that really, spilling in Parliament, and both the houses saw repeated disruptions. We have to wait and watch what happens today in Parliament. Thank you so much, Akriti, for all those updates there from Parliament. And with that, we wrap up this edition of Today in Parliament. Do stay tuned. The proceedings of the upper house are going to commence in a short while from now. Thanks for watching.